Caregiving can sometimes feel like an impossible struggle. Caregivers may be torn between taking care of loved ones and trying to maintain balance in life. The good news is that it doesn't have to be that way. The Caring Generation with host Pamela D. Wilson is here to focus on the conversation of caring. You're not alone. In fact, you're in exactly the right place to share stories and learn tips and resources to help you and your loved ones. So now, please welcome the host of the Caring Generation, Pamela D. Wilson.
I'm Pamela D. Wilson, caregiving expert, expert witness, consultant, and guardian of the Caring Generation. Thank you for joining me for this week's show, episode 241, Elder Care Strategies, dealing with siblings who influence elderly parents. Is your brother or sister taking over your elderly parent's life with your parents' permission? Is this sibling a formidable adversary with excellent manipulation, truth-bending, guilt, and fear-producing skills? If so, is it any wonder that your parent isn't a match for their skills? And you're also hesitant to confront this brother or sister. On this week's podcast, I'll share 3 behaviors that problem siblings master, as well as why other siblings condone problem behavior, and if you're in this situation, why you don't want to wait too long to speak up if you have concerns about the care of an elderly parent. Before we move ahead, please do help me by liking this podcast, following it, sharing it with others, and most of all, by posting a comment on your podcast app, even if it's only to say thank you for the show. You help the Caring Generation podcast reach more listeners worldwide, and I need your help to make this happen. I thank you so much for listening. If you're in a difficult situation where a sibling has influence over elderly parents, don't be naive. The sibling might convince mom or dad to change power of attorney documents, a will, or a trust, if they want to remove other family members. Bank accounts can be emptied. A house or other property, well, it can be sold without you knowing. And I've known to see siblings prevent other siblings from visiting, calling, emailing, and texting. And while you might be watching this and you're thinking, well, is mom or dad in their right mind by allowing your siblings to run their life? Really, the question to ask is, how did this relationship or situation get to this point? Is this a lifelong relationship of codependency between your parent and one of your siblings? Or is it just a controlling brother or sister who wants power and control, and the situation has gotten out of control? Were you too busy with your life to see what was happening? Or did you know that this was happening and you just ignored it? You hoped it would work itself out because you didn't want to get involved with this sibling. Or was mom or dad previously in their right mind, and now they seem to be experiencing memory loss, dementia, or Alzheimer's, making it really easy for this sibling to tell them what to do and to make decisions for them? You might wonder how I know about all this. Well, if you've been listening to the show, I'm Pamela D. Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert, expert witness, and elder care consultant. And for the past 25 years, I've helped older adults and their caregivers through direct assistance, education, elder care management, and consultations. In my work as an expert witness and a court-appointed guardian, conservator, medical and financial power of attorney, and trustee, I talk virtually and by telephone with individuals and families all over the world who are concerned about influence over an elderly parent. Most of these situations of elderly parent influence begin in a couple of ways. The most common is that the parent and adult child with influence live together, either in the sibling's home or the parent's home. Sometimes, as I mentioned before, these are lifelong codependent relationships that can be really hard to break up. Other times, this sibling may have been the only one around, may have been the only one offering to care for mom or dad. Everyone else, well, too busy. And so because of this sibling's help, mom or dad now somehow feel indebted or obligated to do what this sibling wants. In other situations, a sibling uses threats. For example, well, mom, dad, if you don't do what I want, meaning I don't want you to talk to anybody else in the family, then I'm going to leave. I'll abandon you. And who do you think is going to care for you then? Well, that's an easy threat for your sibling to make, especially if you and your other siblings haven't really been involved. And now you're just realizing there is a problem. So let's dig into this a little deeper. Let's look at 3 power and control behaviors in the context of domestic violence relationships. A spouse abusing a spouse, except in this situation, the abuser of an elderly parent is an adult child. Your sibling wants control. The more that you question them or come after them, the more that they're going to dig in, because your parents and your parents' money and your parents' property hold value for them. Not to mention that your sibling, well, they think they're doing the right thing, and you are wrong. The first power and control behavior is called master of dependency. And this one actually has 2 sides. First side is children who control a parent's life are masters of creating dependency. If you've watched any of my videos on my YouTube channel or listened to other podcasts, I constantly tell adult children to help elderly parents be as independent as possible, not dependent, so that you don't have to do everything for your parent. This allows your parents to maintain their self-esteem, their confidence, control over their daily life. The other side of this is an adult child who gives up everything to care for an elderly parent. Their job, their home, relationships. This child becomes totally dependent on a parent who the child eventually views as controlling their life. So in this case, the elderly parent becomes the master of creating dependency on the part of the caregiving child. What if this is how your sibling sees the relationship with your parent? They don't see it as them controlling. They see it as the parent controlling them, and them responding to this control by saying, I don't like it, so I'm going to limit everything you do. I'm going to make your life positively miserable. So, in the situation we're talking about today, a sibling created dependency. Having a parent depend on them gave them emotional strength and power and control. This sibling has 100% of your parent's attention, which they may have never received earlier in life. Maybe your parent overlooked them and one of your other siblings was the favorite. So when you think of dependency in any matter, whether it is a problem sibling or a caregiver who has made themselves indispensable, or a parent who has made a child too dependent on them, you can see that this idea of dependency poses harm in so many ways. On the other side, the caregiver who starts doing too much is harmed. They may feel resentful or angry that they are doing everything. And even if they suggest, a parent won't let them step back and regain their life by hiring a paid caregiver or considering a move to assisted living. So in a sense, it's kind of the reverse of an over-controlling or influential child. This parent exerts control over refusing help from other people. They demand that this child be their caregiver. And the adult child, well, they never say, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm done. I've had enough. This child never stands up for themselves or sets any boundaries. So these examples may make it easier for you to see why your parent doesn't stop the power, control, or abuse behaviors. Caregivers who do too much, they don't stop it either. They refuse to say no. They refuse to stop themselves from being burned out, resentful, angry. They have health problems. They put themselves into positions of financial ruin. They destroy relationships with their spouse and their children and their friends. So let's look at some examples of power and control. And these are examples of what I have personally experienced siblings or family members do to an older adult or elderly parent in the 25 years that I've worked in elder care and caregiving. A sibling may hide a parent's walker or a wheelchair, their eyeglasses, or their dentures to make a parent feel unsafe, insecure, or honestly like they're losing their mind. And when your sibling finds the items, of course they are the hero. I've known siblings and other family members who locked elderly parents, grandparents, or others in a bedroom when they leave the house so that that person can't make a phone call, leave the house to get help, or wander off if they have a diagnosis of memory loss. Locking somebody in a room in a house is an extremely dangerous situation. It's an extremely potentially harmful situation. What if there was a house fire? The person couldn't get out. Or if this person falls and they have no access to the telephone, they can lay on the floor for hours before whoever locked them in that room comes back. And from a point of practicality, if there's not a bathroom in the bedroom and there's a need to use the bathroom, well, you can guess what happens. Your sibling or this person may make your parent wait for meals or not feed them enough, may not give them medications as ordered, so this person doesn't feel well. They feel sick all the time. Maybe they cause them to miss medical appointments, or they fail to report health problems to the doctor or even to a hospital emergency room. What are all of these behaviors can be frightening for a parent who may want to go see a doctor or go to the emergency room. And the sibling refuses, saying, "Oh, you don't need that. I am taking good care of you." Your parent might be scared to death, and they don't know what to do. They may also be embarrassed that they created this situation by allowing it to happen. We all do this through condoning behaviors. Or if your parent was to speak up, they may be afraid of the response of the sibling, anger, personal injury, harm. So in this case, for you to speak up and change this dynamic, it's going to take some courage. What proof do you have to confirm that your parent isn't receiving appropriate care, or they're being threatened or harmed or isolated? As an expert witness, I review documentation and I write reports. I testify in court to say, yes, this person is getting good care, or no, they're not getting good care. Or the person in control, they're not doing a good job, or yes, they are doing a good job. A problem siblings' behaviors can be driven by, as I mentioned, this need for parental approval, a desire for control, or honestly dislike of other siblings, maybe sibling rivalry or sibling jealousy. Sometimes there's a lifelong foundation of mental illness or obsessive compulsive behaviors that make these relationships more difficult. Now let's look at the second item for power and control, which is called abuse of privilege, or really prevention of decision making. Is your parent so dependent on your sibling that if they are asked a question, their response is, well, I don't know, I have to ask Sally or Dave? Your parent has been prevented from speaking up for themselves for so long. They've been manipulated. They've been taught not to respond without looking for the right answer. It's to the degree that they're afraid to answer a simple question for fear of what will happen if your sibling doesn't like their answer. Yelling, threatening, physical abuse. Abuse of privilege results in greater isolation and more dependency because your sibling makes all the decisions. Your parents' opinion, they no longer matter. Your sibling might record all telephone calls. Make it difficult for you to spend time with your parent alone. Honestly, you can't even visit without scheduling a time. And if you are permitted to visit, you're never alone with your parent, so your parent can't say anything. This level of influence, isolation, and dependency is elder abuse, along with being a master of dependency and abusing privileges. The third power and control sign is emotional manipulation. Does your problem sibling blow disagreements out of proportion, making everybody else look like the bad guy or like they're the crazy ones? They may say things to your parents like, oh, they don't care about you. I'm the only one who cares about you. Who do you think's taking care of you? And of course, your parent doesn't know any different because your sibling stops you from visiting, calling, texting, emailing, or being involved in any way. So your parent believes your problem sibling. Or your parent may not believe your sibling, but they may feel stuck in the middle, and so they don't want to say anything. So for you to take action, you want to look at the situation factually. What's in this relationship for your controlling sibling, and what's in this relationship for your parent? Is the controlling sibling gaining financially from property matters? How are they gaining? And does your parent need care because nobody else stepped up and they're now under the control of this sibling? Maybe at the time, mom or dad was desperate for help and they didn't speak up. They felt vulnerable, and this was the closest child and the only child who said, yeah, I'll help you. You may not have been available. So, in a sense, your lack of participation condoned your siblings' actions to gain power and control. So at this point, you have a problem to overcome. How did you get here? So here are reasons that family members give me for not objecting to a person's actions or the effects of a situation, the consequences. Number one, the reactions of a person make the effort to talk to them unpleasant. So it's just easier to avoid them. But now, that situation has gone too far. It has to be addressed. Number two, the behaviors of this person. Well, that's just the way they are, and they're not going to change. So why would I want to battle that? Why should I say anything? That way of thinking actually condones more unpleasant or negative behaviors, leading the other person to think, well, hey, everything's okay. Nobody's complaining. Nobody's speaking up. I can just do more. I can take more control. I can take more power. Number three, people don't object or speak up because they feel like they don't have any power in the situation. Well, maybe or maybe not. What's your relationship with the other person or people involved? And what do you want the relationship to be like? Also, in cases of elder abuse or neglect, what information do you have that is proof of harm, neglect, exploitation, isolation, financial abuse? So when you think about having these conversations, It does help if you've had some conflict resolution training. If not, you can find that online or at a local community college or at a school. So in the case of your parent and the sibling, you're confronting at least two people, maybe other siblings, and maybe your sibling's spouse who wants to get involved. Schedule a family meeting. Have an agenda. Don't criticize the problem sibling. Talk about the choices that are being made and how these are not great. Isolating family members from seeing a parent, recording phone calls, concerns about money. These are all reasonable concerns. And if your parent is condoning or making excuses for your problem sibling, ask them why. Now, the challenge is they're probably not going to speak up and say anything in front of the problem sibling if they're living with them. The big thing here is don't rise to the level of any emotional outbursts or rants. Let the other people lose control. Don't go there. You don't want to be participating in behavior that isn't going to support ongoing conversations. You want to stand up, though. You want to describe the actions or behaviors that you want to see and those that you don't. And most of all, don't take other people's reactions personally. That can be really challenging. Your concerns that you're bringing up are obstacles to these other people and to their actions, and maybe to your sibling getting what they want or keeping what they want, which is control of your parent. Stick to the facts. Focus on unacceptable behaviors. For example, you really don't need permission from your sibling to visit your mom or dad. Your phone calls shouldn't be recorded or monitored. You should be able to take your parent out whenever you want, as long as you're responsible and you know what their care needs are. Transparency should exist about health and money and how everything is happening and whether a parent's needs are being met. There shouldn't be any more hiding information. And know that sometimes, even if you try this, your efforts can fail. And at that point, involving a third party to hold discussions or provide some guidance and oversight can be a good idea. But you have to gain everybody's agreement. Separately, if you find out that legal documents were changed, see if you can ask why. Get everybody in the family to meet with the attorney who revised the documents and ask why they were changed. Learn who made the requests. If your parent has memory loss, how did the attorney confirm that your parent was competent to change the documents? Did they go to these appointments themselves, or did your sibling sit in? Is there a need for competency testing today? Look at the big picture. Realize that this is not a win-lose situation. You want the best for your parent. The goal is behavior change. And if your sibling or other people in your family are difficult, you're not going to change them from being difficult, but you can possibly have behavior change, which then would allow you to visit your parent and have open discussions and be transparent in your family. So, if you need help navigating caregiving and family situations, you can schedule a one-to-one Zoom or telephone consultation with me. Just go to my website, PamelaDWilson.com, click on the Services tab and the Elder Care Consultation tab, where you can complete a form and let me know the concerns you're experiencing and request a scheduled time. I thank you so much for being here with me for this episode. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert witness, advocate, and speaker with 25 years of experience. Again, my website, PamelaDWilson.com. So much help there. Thank you for being with me on this episode of The Caring Generation 241. And please do take a minute before you go on with your day. Like the show, follow the show, add a comment, even if it's only to say thank you. Your participation helps this show reach other people throughout the world. If you'd like to check out the show transcript, the video that's associated with this podcast, and other articles, go to PamelaDWilson.com, click on the Media tab, select the Caring Generation, and scroll down to episode 241. I thank you all so much for making time to be with me. I look forward to being with you again soon. God bless you all. Sleep well tonight. Have a fabulous day tomorrow, and enjoy every day until we are here together again.
Tune in each week for The Caring Generation with host Pamela D. Wilson. Come join the conversation and see how Pamela can provide solutions and peace of mind for everyone. Here on Pamela D. Wilson's The Caring Generation.